And hello again, and here we are back on my drive on a special day because my brand new Norton Commando 961 SP has just arrived. I've not ridden it yet. It's done 5 miles on the clock, and I've got to go out soon and get some petrol because the petrol light's on. First impressions though is it's blooming loud, a lot louder than I remembered, and sitting on it, if I just show you this now, you know, I can get my feet on the ground no problem. But one thing I noticed straight away was, although the bike's very narrow, it's got a very narrow area here where the seats, where the tank's cut out, the pegs are actually quite a long way out, and that's I think because of this the rear brake master cylinder's kind of sticking out a wee bit. But I'm sure I'll get used to that in no time at all. So I can't tell you what it's like to ride yet because I've not ridden it, and that'll come a bit later on in this video. But what I can do is I can just start it up for you. So here we go. Hopefully you can hear it okay. Now I've got my microphone here, so you should pick it up fairly well. It's in my pocket, but hopefully, as I say, you can hear it as I hear it. Here it is. Yeah. So the choke's on now. So, get my microphone. Hopefully you can hear this. Yeah. It sounds pretty damn good to me. So we'll turn it off. Yeah. So, there we go. So, what more can I say? Well, it's pretty well built, as I say. And so, what more can I say for the time being? I'm not going to wait for a little window of sunny weather. Right now the sun's out, but the forecast is within about an hour, we're going to get heavy rain. So I'm not going to risk it and take this brand new bike out in the pouring rain. So, I'm going to put it back in the garage for about an hour or two, hopefully, and by later on today, the weather's forecast is more sun. Should dry up a little bit, and yeah, I'll take it out to get some petrol and go for a quick ride. Now sadly I don't have any sort of fancy GoPro, so I can't show you that, but in time when I do a full review of this bike, I will get some footage of me riding it on the road. You can see what it sounds like, what it looks like in motion. That said, of course, there are lots and lots of videos right now on YouTube of folks who have test ridden this thing. But what I would say is, riding something for half an hour, a freebie that you've not paid for yourself, you know, it's not quite the same thing as living with it and riding it for a few thousand miles and finding out what it's really like. So I will do at least 2,000 miles on it before I make a video of what I think of the bike. So next then I'm going to run this bike in and do 500 miles on it, at which point I think I can rev it to about 3,000 RPM. Until then, of course, I've got to take it easy. Once it's been serviced, which will take me about 3 or 4 weeks to get that mileage done, then we can start to use it a bit more and make use of this nice engine. But anyway, while I'm here, I have got my other Norton, my Norley, just sat right there. So I think I'll wheel it out and we'll do a quick comparison of some sort of photo shoot. And yeah, you can see the difference. They're both black. They've both got gold pinstriping and gold Norton badge. So yeah, it should make quite a good pair, a nice pair, so to speak. And so before it starts to rain, I've dragged out my old Norley from the back of the garage, and I must say they do make a nice pair, don't they? A nice brace of Nortons, or in this case a Norley. And in fact I'm currently doing some work on this bike because it's got a couple of small annoying problems. One is an oil leak and one concerns the battery and the charging of the battery, but that'll be part of a different video at some point in the future. This video is about the arrival of my new Norton Commando. So before it starts to rain, because I can see there's big rain clouds over there, I'll put these back in the garage and we'll come back when I've done some miles on this bike. And now it's getting late, but I'm just back from my first ever ride on this bike. And I must say there's a lot to unpack. I've done about an hour, about 35 miles or so, just on local country lanes. I wasn't trying to go too quick. I'm going to keep the revs down below 3,500, so I wasn't pushing it at all. So, what were my first impressions? Well, there's a lot to consider. I think first of all it sounds really nice, particularly on the overrun. I really loved the sound of those pipes on the overrun. Next thing I noticed was the steering. It handles so quickly. I'm used to older bikes with more rake and more trail, and you got to muscle them around corners, but don't do that with this thing. It just goes straight over straight away. You know, it's so quick steering, just an ever such a slight pressure, it's right over. So that's, I guess, a modern trait that I'm not kind of used to, particularly with the wider bars. You know, you just got that leverage there. Next thing I noticed was suspension's really good. I didn't really think about it, but it works really well. I did go down a lane that's really potted and, you know, quite badly maintained, and there's a couple of big potholes in there, that one of which I hit because the sun was in my eyes, and the front end, you know, just said, yeah, no problem, got that handled, no problem. I thought I'd get a really big jolt through my wrist, but no, it was like, yeah, I can handle this. See, that's a good start. One thing I did notice though was that I feel it's a bit under-geared. I was in 5th gear a lot, and I was always trying to go up to a 6th gear because it felt like it needed one. So let me see, at about 50 miles an hour, it's doing around 3,000 RPM, and yet in top gear it'll easily pull from about 20-25 miles an hour without lugging, without stressing it at all. So I reckon it could easily pull, you know, a bit more gearing there. Perhaps an extra tooth on the front sprocket might work well, but brand new bike, I'm not going to touch it for at least 2 years, but that's something to think about. Yeah, I'm really surprised how easily it pulls from low revs. It's a bit like a Harley in a way. You know, a sort of standard Harley will do that. They'll pull from low revs in a high gear. But no Harley I've ever ridden handles like this. So, in fact, I was thinking about that. I was thinking this feels a bit like a Harley. The engine's a bit like a Harley, an older Harley, with all that low down torque and the great noise. So I think this is a kind of English Harley. It's like a British Harley that's been built for English roads. You know, English twisty roads, not straight American roads. And that's what you get. You get a big torquey twin-cylinder engine, the classic inline twin, and a chassis, the stiff chassis, fantastic suspension, and a nice kind of, what would you call it, sort of English vernacular bodywork. Although one thing that isn't English is this tail section here. That looks nothing like a kind of old-fashioned British bike that you can pick from the 60s or 70s or earlier. And in particular, this Frenched-in rear light. I'm still unsure about it. I'm still wishing it didn't have that, but maybe I'll get used to it. I know where it comes from. It comes from the American Kenny Dreer, who first designed this bike back in the day. He got the rights to Norton, in America at least, and he first of all started building resto mods of the old Commandos from the 70s, and he moved on with some investment and actually designed this engine and designed this bike. And when Norton was brought back to the UK, they kind of kept the styling the same. They kept almost everything the same. And even now, the new owners of TVS have not changed this area. And I don't know. I'm sort of getting used to it now. I think it would look better though if it didn't have this part here that comes off to allow you to fit a pillion pad. I'm not going to do that. And I know that there are some bikes from the previous years that didn't have this. It just had a single seat, and I think it does look a lot better. But anyway, I'm sure I'll get used to it. I can't see it when I'm riding it. And in fact, the seat's very comfortable. And what I realised straight away was that there's actually quite a lot of room here to move around. You know, I'm sort of sitting at the front part, but you can easily move back, you know, 2 or 3 inches, and it's it's quite surprisingly comfortable with a lot of room to move front to back, if you're, say, a bit taller than me. By the way, I am very average. I'm 5'10", and I'm almost about 82 kilos, but hopefully getting that down to 75 soon. So everything kind of fits me. Motorbikes fit me. They're built for me. I'm Mr. Average. And at the moment, I've got the suspension settings all set to the middle of the road. They're all set in the middle of everything. Damping and preload and so on. And guess what? It works for me because I'm average. So one good thing about being average is motorbikes, cars, whatever, fit you very, very well. So yeah, I've just left it as it came from the dealer. So what else can I say about it? Oh yes, the brakes. Oh my God. The front brake is very, very fierce. Once again, I'm not really used to brand new bikes with brand new monoblock front calipers and so on. The back's okay. The back's very progressive, no problem there, but I did find myself over braking a few times when I first started riding it because I'm not used to such fierce brakes. Now they are brand new, of course, and perhaps they are a bit grabby at the moment, so maybe as the miles pile on they'll get a bit more progressive, but oh my God, yeah, These brakes are very powerful indeed. Of course, unlike all my other bikes, this bike's got ABS, so you do have that safety blanket just in case. So yeah, I'm still sort of thinking about the things that I've just gone through on this very short ride. I'm keeping the revs down to sort of 3.5. I did occasionally just take it up to 3.5 to 4, and it has got some power there. I mean, it only makes 77 brake horsepower, I believe, which isn't a lot, but it makes it low down in the mid-range. You really don't have to rev this bike at all, and it'll pull, as I say, from 20-25 mile an hour in top gear, and it'll pull well and just like go right around the rev range, no problem. Now I'm not letting it do that right now because I'm still running it in, so I'm being very conscious of changing down gears and so on. But even in first gear it feels, you know, pretty low geared really. But perhaps that's because I'm used to Harleys and, you know, 2.2 litre Harleys, and I do like my bikes geared up really high so that on the motorway at cruising speeds, you know, the revs drop right down. And I reckon actually that when Norton do come out with their new range of bikes, which they will do soon, water cooled no doubt, I bet the transmissions will be 6-speed with maybe 6 gear being a bit of an overdrive, and that actually would be a fantastic addition to this bike. Some would say you don't need an extra gear, 5 speeds is more than enough, and maybe it is, but it's nice if you sort of get up to sort of 70 odd mile an hour just to go into an overdrive 6 gear and just cruise along and let the revs drop. Don't really care about economy, but it's just nice to get the revs down a wee bit. But anyway, I'm going on now. I'm still all sort of excited about the bike. What else can I say about it? Yeah, I am getting used to these foot pegs. One thing I did read about was that if you knock it and they go up, they stay up. They're not spring loaded. So once, as I first set off, I did knock it and it went up. And it's like, oh my God, where's the peg gone? I was like trying to find it. But yeah, you just got to get used to that and kick them down and then you're away. The fact that the pegs are quite wide didn't really bother me. After the first few seconds I'm used to it, so that's fine. And in fact the riding position, I really like it. It's actually spot on for me. Once again, I missed average 5'10". This bike feels like it's built for me in terms of the ratio between the seat, the pegs and the handlebars. And no doubt this says Norton, but I reckon these are rental bars, probably low bars. Yeah, so everything works fine. Nothing's gone wrong so far in the first 35 miles I've done, and hopefully it'll continue that way. So now I've got to do 500 miles before it goes off for its first service, at which point I can then start to rev the engine a bit more, and we'll slowly build up the revs over the next 1,000 miles or so. Right, so there's my first day of my brand new bike over with. So I'm going to put it away, lock it up, and go and have a well-earned cup of tea. So that's it for now then. So thanks for watching, and cheers.